Are you familiar with a Stu Peters? Does that name ring a bell?
I'm sorry, what is it?
Are you familiar with Mr. Stu Peters?
Not off the top of my head.
He made 8 separate appearances on his podcast. He promoted outrageous conspiracy theories and worked with a prominent neo-Nazi.
That was an amazing moment from Kash Patel's confirmation hearing today. Of course, Kash Patel is President Donald Trump's pick or nominee for director of FBI. He testified in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and throughout the hearing, Patel pretty much evaded direct questions from Democratic senators. In some cases, when being questioned by Republican senators, he didn't evade, but he gave vague answers. Now, what you just saw was a question about alt-right streamer Stu Peters, whose show Patel did in fact appear on multiple times. So it's hard to believe that Patel is unfamiliar with him. Peters has called for the deaths of reporters who have promoted vaccines. In March, Peters wrote, "The journos, anchors, and hosts who participated should be indicted, tried, and fried." Not fired, fried. I want to be clear. In June, he posted a video of various media and government figures talking about the vaccine and wrote, "Every single one of these people deserves the rope." Peters has also called for the executions of politicians and LGBTQ advocates. So Peters wrote that Judaism is a death cult built on the blood of murdered babies.
Jesus.
Interesting. I wonder if Donald Trump is going to deport him. I mean, he signed an executive order recently calling for the deportation of anti-Semites. So this guy is saying that Judaism is the death cult built on the blood of murdered babies. I mean, you can't get any more anti-Semitic than that. Peters is also a flat earther, writing, "If the globe is round, someone is going to have to prove it to me."
Yeah.
So Patel, I'll get to more video in just a minute. I'm gonna pause for comment. Go ahead, Cenk.
Yeah, look, I think Kash is the most mentally unstable of murderers row of fairly unstable candidates that Trump has nominated. And he went on all these crazy shows. And it's one thing that you go on a show and then they say, okay, now that show said this 28 years ago, blah, blah, blah. But this is not a normal left-wing, right-wing show. This is like super extreme. And the fact that this guy has said crazy things was fairly well publicized. So, I mean, and they've got this schizophrenia here that I can't quite solve, where they're like, we love Israel, but the Jews, I don't know about the Jews. I mean, I know that it's partly Christian Zionism, like, oh, we gotta have, Israel start a giant war and all the Jews get killed, yay, and then Jesus comes back and all that stuff. But Kash Patel is not a Christian Zionist. I don't, look, there's so much madness here. Some of the people I object to, like Marco Rubio, because he's a neocon, but he has enough experience for that role. Kash Patel is a disaster in every direction. No experience, total loon. Having him in charge of this super important law enforcement agency is mental. And so to me, Anna, this is a litmus test of, can they block anyone? Matt Gaetz was a sacrificial lamb. Everyone knew he was gonna get blocked. He got put up so that he could be blocked so that everybody else can go through. So are they really gonna do that, or are they gonna block anyone? And if you don't block Kash Patel, then the Senate confirmation hearings are a joke.
No, I don't think they are gonna block Kash Patel. And I think the Senate confirmation hearings, especially with the makeup of the Senate at the moment, is for the most part a joke. Okay, like, I'm giving you the coverage and the highlights of what's going on during these confirmation hearings because it's good to be informed. But if you're asking me for my prediction, I think that Kash Patel is very likely going to be confirmed. The line of questioning from the Democrats really was rooted in this concern that Patel is going to use his position to pursue retaliatory measures against Democrats, against anyone who investigated January 6th. And so that's why, you're hearing these statements from individuals who are allies of Patel, or in this case, hosts who have had Patel on their shows multiple times. And so let's get to what Patel has said during these hearings. So he deflected during an interesting line of questioning from Senator Chris Coons and refused to state that he would resign if he was being asked or forced to take or make illegal actions by the president. Take a look.
I went back and looked and I asked the same questions of Director Comey and Director Wray. Director Wray, quoting former Attorney General Bell, said, "You should be willing to resign if necessary over conduct if you're pressed to engage in it that's unethical, illegal, or unconstitutional. If pressed by the president, would you resign?"
Senator, my answer is simply, I would never do anything unconstitutional or unlawful, and I never have in my 16 years of government service.
Would you be willing to resign the post of FBI director if pressed and given no choice but to obey the order or resign?
Senator, I will always obey the law.
Does obeying the law require you to, as Attorney General Bell said, as FBI Director Wray said, refuse the order or resign?
I'm not familiar with the extent of the law that you're referring to, but my answer is simple. In my 16 years of government service, we will simply follow the law.
So look, I describe that as a deflection. He's not answering yes or no. He's saying that he will follow the law. You can argue that that's not a deflection. He's saying, yes, I will, or I will reject, any effort by Donald Trump to get me to do something illegal. But I'm curious what your interpretation is, Cenk.
Yeah, they're gonna follow all his orders. I mean, let's skip the theatrics, right? No, actually don't skip the theatrics. Good, get it clear on the record, have him lie to the senators, because he's definitely lying, and so is Hegseth. When Trump gives an illegal order, it is an absolute 100% guarantee that Hegseth and Patel will follow it. So, and that's why they're avoiding the question. If they, I'm up for a position in Bernie Sanders' administration and they ask me if he gives you an illegal or unconstitutional order, will you follow it? My answer is super clear. No, I will not follow it. And so it's not my job to determine things around the edges. That's the president's job. But if it is clearly illegal or clearly unconstitutional, I will not do it, because my responsibility is to the American people, not to the person who happens to hold that office. They will never give that answer, because their job is to kiss Donald Trump's ass and to do exactly as they're told, whether it's illegal or not. And even if you're on the right wing, you know that's why they were selected. You might think, oh, Donald Trump would never give an unconstitutional order, the guy who said we should terminate the Constitution. Anyways, okay, you can have that opinion, but you can't have the opinion that if Donald Trump gives an illegal or unconstitutional order, Kash Patel will not follow through on it because of his conscience. He just told you that he won't. It was super clear in that ovation that he will do whatever Trump says, not what the Constitution or the laws say.
At one point, Senator Peter Welch engaged in many attempts to get Patel to admit to who won the 2020 presidential election. So let's see how he handled that line of questioning.
What's so hard about just saying that Biden won the 2020 election? What's hard about that?
Senator, as I've said before, that President Biden was certified and sworn in, and he was the president. I don't know how else to say it.
Well, the other way to say it is he won.
He was the president.
The other way to say it is he won. I can say Trump won. Do you agree with him that the election was stolen in 2020?
Senator, millions of Americans expressed concern going back to multiple elections over election integrity.
You're so skillful. You understand what I'm asking you. Can you say the words, Joe Biden won the 2020 election?
Joe Biden was the president of the United States.
It just clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. I mean, come on. What was that? What was that? Just, dude, it's over. It's done. Okay, it's 2025. Your guy's in office. He's in charge. Why would it be so difficult to just answer that question affirmatively? Yes, Biden won the 2020 presidential election. Let's move on. Because guess what? When you answer that directly, that robs all the other Democratic senators of asking the same question over and over and over again. And when he is refusing to answer it directly, It gives us the impression, I think the accurate impression, that he still hasn't accepted the results of the 2020 presidential election, which is insane, absolutely insane.
Yeah. No, I know, but Anna, you know he can't answer it because Trump might fire him in the middle of the hearings if he said Biden won the election in 2020.
Well, if Trump were to do that, that would be so deeply pathetic. It really would. Really would. But bro, you're the president right now. You're the president right now.
I know, but Anna, he still hasn't let it go. He still hasn't let it go.
It's pathetic then. It's pathetic.
It is. It's pathetic. It's totally pathetic that he's still lying about 2020. You won the presidency twice. What else do you need, right? But no, his giant ego and his thin skin can't handle it. So that's why I bet you if Kash Patel said, of course Joe Biden won the 2020 election, that Trump might literally pull him in the middle of the hearings because he's so obsessed with himself and not the country and not anything else. So look, the real answer Kash Patel should have given is, Senator, I'd love to answer your question, but my lips are pursed in the middle of Donald Trump's cheeks, so I can't speak. And by the way, to be fair, Senator, that's why I was selected, because I'm one of the biggest ass kissers of Donald Trump in the entire country. But to me, the number one thing and almost the only thing they should be asking about is the enemies list. So who's on your enemies list? What are you planning to do with them? And have you ever bothered to try to figure out that they've done anything wrong, or just they're your political enemies and like a authoritarian thug, a Gestapo, you would like to go and arrest them for no goddamn reason? So go ahead, Kash, answer that one. See if that one's complicated for you.
But he won't answer that. I mean, the whole point of these hearings is to either lie to the Senate about what you intend to do or evade the questions. When pressed on, well, look, to be fair, Patel seemed to break with Trump on one issue, and that had to do with pardoning the violent January 6 rioters. Take a look.
Was President Donald Trump wrong to give blanket clemency to the January 6 defendants?
Thank you, Ranking Member. A couple of things on that. One, the power of the presidential pardon is just that, the president.
Well, I concede he has the authority. I'm asking, was he wrong to do it?
And as we discussed in our private meeting, Senator, I have always rejected any violence against law enforcement, and I have, including in that group, is specifically addressed any violence against law enforcement on January 6th. And I do not agree with the commutation of any sentence of any individual who committed violence against law enforcement.
So Cenk, boom. He just said that he disagrees with what Donald Trump did in pardoning the violent January 6th offenders who assaulted police officers. He was clear about that, unequivocal. So why can't you just say that Biden won the 2020 presidential election and move on?
So, and I have a theory about that. And the right wing can catch feelings about this, but I've said it about Democrats as well. We've said it for 20 straight years. Look, there's a lot of theatrics in politics that's never actually revealed to the voters and the viewers. And a lot of times, most of the time, it's mainstream media hiding it, right? So in this case, Susie Wiles very likely had a conversation with not just Kash Patel, but almost all the people, because she's deeply competent, with all the people that are going up to these hearings, and probably gave them one thing to disagree on with Trump, so that it looks like, especially now that his position is about representing law enforcement, right? So the one that you give him is, well, I would defend law enforcement, so I'm against, I disagree with President Trump on that. So you give one, disagreement, so it seems like you're reasonable, but not one that the president is overly emotional about. And by the way, do you know how Trump made the decision out there, if you haven't seen this part of the story? At some point as they were discussing it, all the pardons, he got a little bored. So he said, F it, let's just pardon them all. There's sophisticated calculus there.
He didn't want to do it by a case basis. But Cenk, look, I hear what you're saying, but that's speculation. That's like entirely your speculation.
Yes. But it's speculation based on how I know politics works. And they also teach everyone going to a hearing, don't answer their questions, especially the Supreme Court nominees. Both Democrats and Republicans do it. Pretend that you don't have any opinions, pretend that you're a robot, and then later, of course, we'll screw them and you'll actually have left-wing opinions or right-wing opinions, and that's what they always do. So I've seen this movie 2,000 times, so I'm telling you how it actually works.
So when pressed on FISA, which is, of course, the warrantless wiretapping of suspected threats to US national security. Oftentimes, Americans end up getting spied on without a warrant as a result of FISA. Patel stated that he, well, interestingly enough, has the kind of position that the majority of Americans absolutely despise, including the right wing. Let's take a look.
One of the things that's come up, and we've discussed this, is the idea that in order to query lawfully collected intelligence under Section 702, that somehow if a US person's name is involved, that a warrant would be required. Do you believe a warrant requirement is a practical and workable or even a necessary element of 702?
If I may just give some context on that, Senator. Having a background not only utilizing FISA and 702 as a national security prosecutor, but as a civilian at JSOC and later as an intelligence official and the Deputy Director of National Intelligence, 702 collection formulates over 45% of the presidential daily briefing that you referred to earlier.
I actually have heard it's as high as 60%, but anyway, it's a lot.
It's a lot. And the issue for me is not with FISA and 702. The issue has been those that have been in government service and abused it in the past.
Yeah.
All right, so he's in favor of warrantless wiretapping of American citizens. That's an easier way to just condense what he just said there.
Yeah. All right. So no, the issue is 702 because if you allow for warrantless wiretapping, it will be abused every single time. And that's exactly what's happening now. I don't mean in every instance, I mean by every administration whenever it's convenient for them, Republican or Democrat, and they both have. They've grossly abused it. And it's so interesting to see Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel partly get selected because the right wing really likes them, the MAGA movement likes them. And one of the reasons they like them is because they were against warrantless wiretapping. So this is one of there's many issues we talk about where the right wing massively disagrees with us and we fight over it. And I told you there's a couple where we do agree, and they don't like warrantless wiretapping. And that's how he got to be popular. Then he has to kiss the ass of the Republican establishment. And again, Susie Wiles, et cetera, the Trump administration at large says, yeah, go kiss their ass. We're gonna do warrantless wiretapping. We were just lying to our base. Now we're in charge. Of course we're gonna do warrantless wiretapping. Right? And that's, by the way, that's what every president says. Oh, I can't believe the other one did it. Oh, yeah, now I'm in charge. I have the power. Of course I'm gonna abuse it. I mean, 702 is so critical. So understand, MAGA, Tulsi and Kash Patel definitely lied to someone. Either they just lied to those Republican senators in a hearing or they lied to you. Okay, now, I'm gonna give a voice here to a couple of members just because they were so funny. Wang Jun on TYT.com says, Kash Patel has the intellect of a 4chan message board. I think that's totally true. And then post-traumatic South disorder said, this is how Trump fights DEI hires, by hiring the most intelligent, most qualified, with the best experienced people. Well played, Mr. President. That is funny because Kash Patel does not seem to fit that mold. But look, if you're on the right and you're angry, oh no, he's perfectly qualified, what a brilliant young gentleman. Okay, look guys, shoe on the other foot. I know neither side likes to do this game, okay? But if you're being fair, this is what you should do every time. So imagine Biden nominated someone who said, or Hillary Clinton, that they have an enemies list of MAGA guys and they're gonna go after them. And that's okay, just put me in charge of the FBI, put me in charge of law enforcement. And they never said what crimes you committed, but they're gonna go after Trump and the MAGA leaders because they have an enemies list. Do you think that that person should be confirmed? You can lie if you like and say, oh no, I would say he should be confirmed. Okay, but everybody knows that's a lie. You could pretend that there's some sort of difference, but there isn't. So this guy's not it. This is not what American rights should be. And he's definitely not qualified. And nobody with an enemies list should be put into the US government, especially in law enforcement. This is mental.
Hey, thanks for watching that video. We really appreciate it, guys. And we appreciate it if you become members because that allows us to be independent, honest, progressive, all the things that you don't get from corporate media. And all of that is because of you guys. Hit the join button below and become one of us, become a young Turk.